Born in Harlem on May 30, 1964, Morello was raised by his mother in Libertyville, Illinois. As a teenager, he became infatuated with both rock music and politics, and was almost entirely self-taught on guitar. In fact, he learned the most about the instrument while practicing up to 8 hours a day during a stint at Harvard University, where he majored in political science. Upon graduation, Morello relocated to the Los Angeles area, where he decided to try and make a career out of music. By the late 80s, Morello was a member of LA rockers Lock Up, who inked a deal with Geffen and issued a lone album in 1989, Something Bitchin' This Way Comes. When the record sank without a trace upon release, the group broke up. But Morello already had plans for his next project, which would be more thought-provoking and politically minded and harder-edged musically. With Morello joined by vocalist and rapper Zack de la Rocha, bassist Tim Commerford, and drummer Brad Wilk, Rage Against the Machine were born in 1991. Over the course of a 4-album career, in 1992's self-titled release, in 1996's Evil Empire, 1999's The Battle of Los Angeles, and 2000's All Covers Renegades, Rage Against the Machine became one of rock's leading and most confrontational bands. But rumors of friction between de la Rocha and the rest of the members persisted, stemming from the fact that the frontman wanted to issue a solo album, and shortly before the release of the 4th album, de la Rocha left the group. Undeterred, Morello and the rest of the Rage members enlisted the services of former Soundgarden frontman Chris Cornell in forming the group Civilian, which would later be redubbed Audioslave. Together the quartet issued a trio of top 10 albums from 2002 to 2006 before disbanding in 2007. In addition to his work with his primary bands, Morello has lent his playing talents to recordings by a variety of other artists including KRS-One, The Prodigy, Wu-Tang Clan, Cypress Hill, Johnny Cash, Tool, Bruce Springsteen, Primus and Run DMC. Morello also performs solo material under his political folk alter ego The Nightwatchman. Inspired by a number of demonstrations and protests in the US and abroad, Morello issued his Nightwatchman debut One Man Revolution in 2007. His sophomore album The Fabled City followed in 2008. Once again produced by Brendan O'Brien, The Fabled City featured appearances by Serj Tankian, Shooter Jennings, and Perry Farrell. The third Nightwatchman set, Union Town, was released in the summer of 2011 with all profits going to the America Votes Labor Unity Fund. The EP included 3 Morello originals and 5 standards, including the full-length version of Woody Guthrie's This Land Is Your Land, with the usually censored verse intact. Morello once again as the Nightwatchman followed the disc with the full-length Worldwide Rebel songs released later in 2011 on New West. Morello's next project, yet another supergroup, continued his vocal political stance while returning the guitarist to the funk and hip-hop roots he first delivered with Rage Against the Machine. Formed in 2016, Prophets of Rage recruited Rage and Audioslave members Commerford and Wilk, Public Enemy's Chuck D and DJ Lord, as well as Cypress Hill MC Be Real. The rap rock sextet debuted with the EP The Party's Over before issuing the full-length Prophets of Rage in 2017. The next year, Morello recruited a star-studded list of cross-genre guests for his 5th solo album The Atlas Underground. In addition to electronic acts Knife Party, Steve Aoki, and Bassnectar, he enlisted rap icons Big Boy, Killer Mike, GZA, and RZA, as well as Portugal The Man, K-Flay, Gary Clark Jr. and many more. 2019 saw the arrival of the single Can't Stop the Bleeding, which featured Gary Clark Jr. and Grammatic. His collaborative work carried over into the new decade with Stand Up, a single featuring Morello, Shay Diamond, Dan Reynolds, and the Bloody Beetroots. In 2020, Rage Against the Machine reunion tour was sidelined by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, but Morello kept busy. That October he published an expansive photo memoir, Whatever It Takes, which chronicled his long and storied career through both images and reflections on his personal activism and sonic work. Later in 2021, he collaborated with the Pretty Reckless and Pussy Riot. In August of that year, Morello shared the lead single from his upcoming sixth solo album, a cover of AC/DC's Highway to Hell that included guest cameos from Bruce Springsteen and Eddie Vedder. Titled The Atlas Underground Fire, the LP arrived that October. In addition to the superstar guests from the first single, the record also included contributions from Bring Me the Horizon, Chris Stapleton, Damian Marley, Sama Abdul Hadi and many others. Just weeks later, Morello released companion album The Atlas Underground Flood, a counterpart to The Atlas Underground Fire that was also heavy on guest contributors like Idles, Ben Harper, San Hollow, Metallica's Kirk Hammett and many others. In interviews, Morello said the two albums were his personal version of a massive double album statement like The Clash's London Calling.